Math Chapter 11, Geometry and Fraction Concepts. Today we're looking at Lesson 11.10, Describe Equal Parts. For today's lesson, you need your workbook, pencil, and crayons. Make sure you have those now. And then we're ready to begin. Let's start by looking at the Listen and Draw section. It says, find shapes that show fourths and color them green. That means any shape with 4 equal parts is going to be green. And also find shapes that show halves and color them red. So any shape with halves or 2 equal parts will be red. Go ahead, get a green and red crayon out and color in those shapes correctly. Take your time and be neat. I'll give you a few moments to do that and then we'll check them over. All right, so there were 2 shapes that were divided into fourths, the green square and the green circle that I colored. And there were 2 shapes divided into halves, 2 equal parts, the red circle and the red rectangle. Take a look at the 3 shapes that we didn't color in. All 3 of those shapes show thirds, 3 equal parts. All right, let's take a look at our I can statement today. It says, I can find and show a half of, a third of, or a fourth of a whole. So we're looking at fractions again today. The Model and Draw page says, these are some ways to show and describe an equal part of a whole. The first example shows 2 equal parts, and it has a half of the shape is green, so they shaded in 1/2. Over here I have the fraction, or how we write 1/2 as a fraction. The top number is how much is shaded in, 1 piece or 1 part. The bottom number is the total number of parts in that shape. So 1 out of 2, or 1/2 of that rectangle, are colored in. The next example has 3 equal parts, and it has a third of the shape is green, so they shaded in 1/3. Again, in my fraction, the top number, 1, is how many pieces I've shaded in, and the bottom number is how many parts there are total. The last example shows 4 equal parts, and a fourth of the shape is green, so they've shaded 1/4. In our little bubble, it says 1 of 4 equal parts is called a quarter of that shape. So you could say 1/4, or you could say 1/4. All right, let's take a look at the share and show section. The directions say, draw to show thirds. Color a third of the shape. The first one's been completed for you. They already drew to show 3 equal parts, or thirds, and they colored in 1 out of the 3 equal parts, 1/3. Let's take a look at the next one. We have a square. All right, when you're drawing your thirds, I want you to use your pencil to draw the lines and then shade in with a crayon. So go ahead and show me thirds in the square, just like this. Remember, be careful with thirds. They can be a little tricky. And then we're going to shade in 1/3, 1 out of 3 of those equal parts. You can use any color crayon you want for these problems. All right, let's try the next one. This time we have a rectangle. Right now that is a whole rectangle. Now we need to show thirds. So again, with my pencil, I'm going to go ahead and draw my lines to show thirds. Check yours over. Make sure they look like 3 equal parts. I know it's hard to be exact, but make sure that they look similar or about the same. And then go ahead and shade in 1/3, or 1 of the 3 equal parts. All right. The next part of share and show changed the directions a bit on us. It says draw to show fourths. Color a fourth of the shape. So for each of these shapes, I need to show 4 equal parts, or fourths, and then color in 1/4, 1 out of 4 of those equal parts. The first shape is a rectangle. Go ahead with your pencil, turn that into fourths, and then pick out a crayon and shade in 1/4. Our next example is a circle. Go ahead and show me fourths on that circle. And then shade in 1/4. Take your time with your shading. Make sure you stay in the lines. Otherwise, it might look like you're trying to color in 2/4 or even 3/4. We're only showing 1/4. And the last problem on this page is a square. Again, we're still showing fourths, so let's go ahead and draw our lines to show fourths, and then shade in 1/4, one out of those 4 equal parts. All right, excellent job. We're ready to take it on the on your own part. So the on your own directions. Make sure you read the directions for each part. The first 3 problems you're drawing to show halves and then coloring a half of the shape. Then the next 3 problems you're drawing to show thirds and coloring a third of the shape. And then the last 3 problems you're drawing to show fourths and color a fourth of the shape. Take your time with your lines, draw them with pencil, and then shade in your part. Go ahead, push pause. When you're ready to check over your work, hit play. All right, you should have completed the on your own section. I'm going to show you mine now. Now remember, there is more than one way to divide a shape into halves or thirds or fourths, depending on the shape. So yours might not match mine exactly, but that's okay, as long as you have an equal number of parts. So here are my examples. So if you did get stuck on any of them, you can check them over and use mine to guide you now. All right, if you need more time on this section or you need to correct something, push pause and take a moment to do that. Otherwise, go ahead and turn the page and let's look at the problem solving section. Again, we're going to follow our cube steps to solve our word problems. Our first problem is a think smarter question. It says 2 posters are the same size. A third of one poster is red and a fourth of the other poster is blue. Is the red part or the blue part larger? Draw and write to explain. Well, let's read that again, and then we'll underline our question and box up our key information. 2 posters are the same size. A third of one poster is red and a fourth of the other poster is blue. Is the red part or the blue part larger? Draw and write to explain. So you'll see I underlined the question, is the red part or the blue part larger? And then the key information I need to box up is that a third of one poster is red and a fourth of the other poster is blue. All right, so we have our 2 posters here, and I know I need to divide one of them into thirds and one of them into fourths. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we're also going to shade a third red and shade a fourth blue. So my 2 posters end up looking like this. Go ahead and take a moment to fill that in on yours as well. Make sure you're following the cube steps on your word problem. Make sure 1/3 is red and 1/4 is blue. All right, as you're finishing coloring those in, look at them closely. Which one is larger? Is the red 1/3 larger, or is the blue 1/4 larger? Well, looking at them the way that we've drawn them, I can tell that the red piece, or 1/3, is larger than 1/4. Think about it. If you had a cookie and you had to divide it between you and 2 other friends, so there's 3 of you, you each get a third. But if you had that same cookie and there were 3 friends with you, making 4 people total, you'd have to split it into fourths. You'd get a smaller piece of a cookie because there's more people to share it with. So when I go to write my answer, you know I'm going to TTQA it. The red part is larger because 1/3 is larger than 1/4. The red part is larger because 1/3 is larger than 1/4. Go ahead and write that sentence down. The red part is larger because 1/3 is larger than 1/4. All right, if you need more time, push pause. Otherwise, let's take a look at the last question. They call this a Think Smarter. I don't think so. Draw to show halves, thirds, and fourths. Color a half of, a third of, or a fourth of the shape. Why don't we draw halves on the circle? Go ahead and draw halves on your circle and shade in 1/2. All right, for the rectangle, let's do thirds. Go ahead and show thirds on your rectangle and shade in 1/3. All right, and then for the square, go ahead and show fourths and shade in 1/4. And then your answer should look similar to mine. Again, you might have drawn your lines differently to show your equal parts, and that's okay. If you were stuck on one or needed some help, go ahead and look at mine and use them to guide you to complete that last problem. Once you've finished that, you are ready for the homework. Keep up the great work, keep working hard, and make sure on your homework you're nice and neat with your lines and your shading. See you next time.